Good morning, everybody. Your Excellencies, esteemed partners and panelists, development partners, leaders from the public and private sectors, representatives of civil society, members of the diplomatic community, distinguished guests, and most importantly, the women and girls whose future we are called to defend and advance. Thank you all for being here. Welcome and good morning again. It is both an honor and a deep responsibility to stand before you today as we gather at this important moment during the 70th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. Today is more than an event, it is a call to conscience, a call to courage, and above all, a call to action. We are meeting at a time when the world is long on declarations, but still far too short on delivery. We're surrounded by global commitments, strategic frameworks, summit communiques, and beautifully written policy statements. Yet, for millions of women and girls across the global south, daily life still tells a different story. A story of exclusion, a story of energy poverty, a story of limited access to opportunity, a story of untapped human potential waiting for the right systems, the right partnerships, and the right investments to unlock it. That is why this convening matters. Because global development cannot be achieved while entire regions rich in human capital, natural resources, innovation, and resilience are left behind. No one and no country must be left behind. If we're serious about the Sustainable Development Goals, then we must be serious about the systems that make development possible. And one of those systems, perhaps one of the most fundamental, is energy. Power drives development. Power lights up industry. Power sustains hospitals. Power enables learning in schools. Power supports businesses and livelihoods. Power illuminates homes. Power connects communities to opportunity. Power makes productivity possible. Power makes dignity possible. And yes, power is what allows us to gather in our homes and communities and watch our favorite athletes and sports icons. Those individuals who inspire us, unite us, and remind us of the extraordinary possibilities of human potential. So when we say we want development, we must also say with conviction that we want energized communities. Because you cannot industrialize communities in darkness, you cannot build inclusive economies in darkness, you cannot close gender gaps in darkness, and you cannot speak credibly about human capital development while leaving millions without access to reliable, affordable, and sustainable power. This is why our work is urgent. And this is why our vision is bold. We believe that football powers communities. Sports do more than entertain us. They unify us. They inspire aspiration. They build discipline, identity, and social cohesion. They create pathways for young people, especially girls, to see themselves differently and to be seen differently by society. In many communities, football is one of the few truly universal languages. It cuts across class, race, religion, nationality, and politics. In much the same way, development must become a unifying force. Just as sports bring people together around a shared goal, we must unite around a shared development agenda, one that recognizes that women and girls are not a side conversation in development, but they are central to it. Women and girls remain among the most affected by poverty, exclusion, energy insecurity, poor infrastructure, and weak access to opportunity. And yet, they remain among the greatest agents of resilience, enterprise, and transformation. So the question before us is not whether women and girls have the capacity. The question is whether the world is ready to match that capacity with capital, infrastructure, opportunity, and political will. That is the challenge before us, and that is why we're taking what some may call an audacious step We're speaking openly and unapologetically about catalytic funding. We're putting forward a bold ambition to mobilize $20 million towards this work. To some, that may seem ambitious. To others, it may sound like a lot. But in truth, when measured against the scale of the challenge before us, $20 million does not even scratch the surface. And yet, it matters. Because we are not merely talking about $20 million as a fund to spend. We're talking about $20 million as catalytic capital. Capital that can unlock far more. Capital that can de-risk innovation. Capital that can crowd in public investment, private finance, philanthropic support, multilateral partnerships, and community-driven implementation. Capital that can move us from pilot projects to scalable systems. Capital that can leapfrog development in the global south. This is not about charity. This is about strategy. This is not about symbolism. This is about systems change. If 20 leaders committed $1 million each, we would not simply have a fund, we would have a signal. A signal that there are still leaders in the world willing to do more than speak. A signal that there are still institutions willing to invest in solutions, not just conversations. A signal that multilateralism still matters. And let me say this clearly, multilateralism remains a strategic key for global development. In an increasingly fragmented world, we cannot afford isolated responses to interconnected problems. Development demands partnership. It demands cross-border collaboration. It demands public sector leadership, private sector efficiency, community trust, philanthropic courage, and multilateral coordination. No single factor can do this alone. No, but together, we can do far more than we currently imagine. We have seen what is possible when communities are connected to markets, to infrastructure, and to opportunity. If Alibaba could help catalyze transformation through Taobao villages by connecting local communities to economic ecosystems, then surely we too can reimagine what is possible for underserved communities around the world. The world is now a global village. The question is not whether solutions exist. The question is whether we have the will to deploy them equitably and strategically. And as we move forward, we're committed to doing this differently. We're building a structure grounded in accountability. We're embedding a strong MIL framework, which is monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning, because impact is non-negotiable. We're not interested in measuring success simply by how much money is raised. We want to measure success by how many lives are lifted out of poverty, how many girls and women can access real opportunity, how many communities are energized, how many local economies are strengthened, how much productive activity is unlocked, how much measurable growth is generated. How many communities move from vulnerability to viability? Those are the numbers that matter. Not decorative statistics, not reports written to satisfy donors, but real numbers, real community, real transformation. And this is important because we must also be honest enough to confront a difficult truth. Fragmented development does not work. For too long, development efforts in many parts of the world have been scattered, duplicated, uncoordinated, and weakly measured. Resources are scarce, needs are immense, and we therefore have a duty to ensure that every dollar is spent with discipline, efficiency, and measurable intent. We need more consolidated, community-focused solutions. We need deeper implementation, not broader visibility. We need fewer fragmented interventions and more integrated models that can transform one community at a time and then scale. Because when one community is truly energized, educated, connected, and economically activated, it becomes proof of concept. It becomes a model. It becomes evidence that development can work when it is intentional, accountable, and built for the people it is meant to serve. We have 5 years to 2030. 5 years. This is not a long time in development terms, but is enough time for audacious leadership, enough time for catalytic partnerships, enough time for action-focused activities, enough time to prove that progress is still possible when courage meets coordination. So today, I invite every stakeholder in this room and beyond to move with us from talk to action, from fragmented effort to strategic alignment, from performative commitment to catalytic investment. Let us build communities, not just conferences. Let us energize futures, not just conversations. Let us finance transformation, not just ambition. Let us create a global economy that works not for a privileged few, but for all. And just as sports unites people across borders and differences, let us unite now in the spirit of partnership to power the world, through collaboration that is intentional, through leadership that is accountable, and through solutions that are built to last. This is bold, this is audacious, but it is necessary. And I believe deeply that if we come together, we can do it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing in the possibility of more than just energized and an inclusive world. We thank you for choosing not only to witness this moment, but to help shape it. Welcome to this most important convening, and I wish us all a productive, inspiring, and action-driven session. Thank you.